Camera, lights, action. Welcome back. And thank you for joining me on the Our platform. This is the Our platform. Take two. You wonder what I'm doing. The power of silence. The power of silence in communication. That is what we're focusing on in today's video. Imagine God standing in front of the chaos and the darkness all around in Genesis 1:1. Imagine if God was silent. Imagine Esther keeping silent in the middle of the injustice that was going to be done to our people. Imagine David keeping silent in front of Goliath. Imagine Joseph keeping quiet in front of his brother, in front of Potiphar's wife, in front of the butler and the cupbearer, and in front of Pharaoh. Can you imagine the daughter of Zelophehad keeping quiet in front of the judges and not speaking to receive the inheritance that belonged to their father? Can you imagine the Lord Jesus Christ not speaking to the injustice and the darkness that was around his word? There is time for everything. There is time to be quiet, there is time to be silent, and there is a time to speak. Ecclesiastes 3 said, there is a time for everything. When you're speaking, when you're supposed to be silent, you're creating noise. When you're talking, when you're supposed to be quiet, you're creating noise. A noise is a cacophony, a meaningless sound. A sound that doesn't make sense to the speaker and doesn't make sense to the hearer. Your goal is to make sure that whatever is coming out of your mouth makes sense, because your voice is a music. You can play it high, you can play it low. You can play it with emotion, you can play it with frankness. You can play it in quietness, you can play it loud. You can play it with joy, you can play it with sorrow. You can play it to the crowd, you can play it to a single individual. Your voice is a music. The power of silence in communication. So in today's video, I'm going to take you through a journey. First, I want to start with the difference between quietness and silence. When you're quiet, you don't have a message and you shut your mouth. But when you're silent, you have a message. In fact, the message is burning in your heart. You want to let it out. It is like a fire in your heart that is burning in your belly. But your silence suppresses the voice. Your silence makes you pace the voice. Your silence makes you time the message. Your silence makes you package the message. And in your silence, you are able to deliver it at the right time in such a way that it makes sense not only to you, but to the hearer. This morning, I told myself, do I really want to do this recording? I don't feel like talking. And something says, you have a message. Even when you don't feel like talking, you have a message. There is time for it. Because a destiny is waiting for this message. A birthing process is waiting for this message. A breakthrough is waiting for this message. And you have to speak it up, because there is a time element in communication. You want to know when to talk and when to hold the voice down. So quietness means you don't even have anything to say, but you just blab your mouth. You're just talking. You're just talking. That is when there's lack of quietness. Lack of quietness means you don't have something tangible to say, but you just want your voice to be heard. And that's when you make noise. Lack of quietness produces noise. Silence means you have a message. It's burning in your heart, but you want to wait for the right time to deliver the message. The power of silence in communication. Before I go into the lesson that I want to focus on for today's topic, so this morning I was walking my son to the bus, and the weather is a little bit cold, and he already had his jacket on. But another woman, when we got to the bus, I saw the son asking for his own jacket, and the mom whispered to my ears that she told him to wear his jacket, and I responded, "Boys don't like to be told what to do. Men don't like to be told what to do." I remember earlier in my marriage, whenever I'm telling my husband something, he doesn't want to listen. I'm telling him, "Oh, this is how we should do this. Oh, I think you should do it this way." And he's going to say, "No, don't do, no, I think this is the way I want to do it." And then earlier in the marriage, when I was not so mature, when I didn't know how to play my voice, because whichever way you want to think about it, communication is very, very dynamic. So you want to know when to supply your voice based on the demand, because that is what puts and determines the price for your voice. You want to know when you supply based on what is demanded. So I was supplying my voice. I would tell him, "Oh, this is what we should do." But he's not demanding for it. He's not ready to listen to me. And then whenever he decides not to do what I told him to do, guess what? Well, you guys should know that I am not trying to be perfect here. I already told you I'm bringing all of myself to the conversation. So whenever he decides to do the opposite of what I told him to do, I would just say, "I told you so. I'm sorry for disappointing you people." You people were expecting me to say, "Oh no, sorry, my darling." No, I told you so. And that happened for some time. I would tell him, I would be supplying a voice that was not demanded for. And then we have a disequilibrium. Because it doesn't demand for what I am supplying to him. I have a message, but I'm not supplying it at the right time. I am not supplying that message at the right time. I am not drawing on the elements of silence. And that makes my message to become a noise. Remember what I said, quietness and lack of quietness is when noise is being produced. Okay? So now, what did I do to change that dynamics? I watch him. I keep quiet. I wait for my message. When I find my message, I keep my mouth shut. And then when he asks, and he says, "Yewande, what do you think we should do?" Because I have thought it through, I have fleshed it out, I have thought it through in such a way that I know how to package it. Then I stage my idea. And then he will say, "I didn't think about that. That's a very good idea. Let's run with it." As I grow in this marriage, we've been married for a couple of years now, I've realized that the power of silence has helped me earn a lot of respect. The power of silence has helped to reduce the number of fights. We still fight anyway, but it has helped to reduce the number of fights that we have, because I don't just supply my voice anyhow. I speak when the hearer is ready to hear me. And I shut my mouth when I think the timing is not right. On the other hand, women, we like to talk. That is how we are. That is how our emotion is set up. We want to share our pain. We want to voice out our opinion. But we need to know when to talk, how to talk, why we are even talking. So the story that I'm going to lead you through, even in today's video, is from 1st or 2nd Samuel 18. So I'm going to lead you into the story in 2nd Samuel 18. Well, you guys may have noticed that I like David a lot. I can write several books on the story of David. So in 2 Samuel 17, we saw that there was an uprising or a rebellion right in the house of David. One of his sons, Absalom, decided to rise up and kick his father out of the throne. So there was a rebellion. And whenever you see a rebellion, whenever you see an uprising, pay attention, because you're going to notice that there is an inner person or a close person who is given power to that uprising. And that was what we saw in this story in 2 Samuel 17 and 18. Ahithophel, who had had some bitterness with David, decided to support Absalom against his own father. And he gave him an idea. Because Ahithophel was a close ally of David. Ahithophel was used to be one of the advisors who used to have the voice in the head of David. So he knew what David was thinking about. He knew David's emotion. He knew David's character. He knew him so well because he had listened to him. They have had some quality communication. So Ahithophel told Absalom, this is how you should go about it. And Ahithophel continued to empower that uprising against David. So in 2 Samuel 18, David was already out of the palace now. It was too much for him. And we saw that David decided to fight his own son. So he gathered all the armies together and he said, we're going to go on this fight. And then Joab said, no, you're not going. You're going to stay because you are worth 10,000 soldiers. You're not going on this war. We will go. So David divided them into 3 groups, and then they went ahead to fight against Absalom and his own team of soldiers who are also Israelites. Now you see what a voice served in a wrong time could do, not only in a family setting, but also even within a nation. Ahithophel served his voice at the wrong time, and he interacted with the greed and the wicked desire of Absalom, and he decided to rise up against his own father. So the David's team, the David soldier, decided to fight against Absalom's soldier. The battle was strong, and Absalom decided to run. And as he was running for his own life, he was like the most handsome boys among David's boys. He was very handsome. He was full of hair. His hair got caught into a ticket, and his mule ran off from him. So here was a man, a soldier, with his head hung up to a tree, dangling in the air. And one of David's soldiers saw him. The soldier knew that David had warned them that nothing should happen to Absalom, his son. So he came back. He didn't touch Absalom. He left him there, and he came back to Joab and told Joab, this is what I saw. Absalom is hung onto a ticket. And Joab said, what did you do? He said, I didn't do anything. I remember the king told you. There was a message that don't touch Absalom. Joab went ahead and trusted him and killed Absalom. After Absalom died, there was a message to be delivered to the king that his enemy had died. There was a message to be delivered to the king that his own son had died. Amaziah said, Let me run with this message. Amaziah said, let me run with it. Let me just Ahimaaz, that was his name. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it well. Ahimaaz said, let me run with the message. This is a good day of victory. The king would like to hear it. Joab said, no, you are not running with the message. You are a good man. This message doesn't suit your personality. Ahimaaz said, please, Joab, let me go. Joab said no. And then Joab decided to give the message to Cush. And he said this Cush should go and tell the king what you have seen. Cush ran with the message. And then Joab came back again. I have this message. It's burning. It's burning. Just the way you would say, I can't keep it to myself. I have to say, I say my mind. I have to say my mind. The power of silence means you have control, self-control over the message that is burning in your mind in such a way that you know the right time to deliver the message. So Ahimaaz said, let me run with the message. And then Joab said, okay, go. You're not going to get any reward for this message anyway, because that is what happens when you are delivering a message at the wrong time. So Ahimaaz ran. He overtook Cush that was given the message. And when Ahimaaz got to the king, the king said, you are a good man. You're a good man. So you are bringing a good message. Remember, Ahimaaz was not coming to tell the king a good message. The message doesn't suit the timing. The message doesn't suit Ahimaaz's personality. So as Ahimaaz was still saying, oh yes, king, I have a good message. As he was about to deliver it, the king said, oh, there's another man coming. He must have another good news. Ahimaaz, be silent. And Ahimaaz shut his mouth. And then Cush got there. Cush also had a message. When Cush got there, the king said, what message do you have for me? Is the young man Absalom safe? Cush said, I bring good tidings, my lord. The Lord has avenged for you because he rose up for you. David asked him again, is the young man safe? And Cush answered in that verse 32 of 2 Samuel 18. He said, may the Lord make your enemies to be like Absalom. It was an indirect message from a man who knew how to time the message, who knew how to package the message, who knew how to make sure the message suits the personality of himself. The king figured it out by himself that Absalom had been killed in the war. The power of silence in communication. When you are communicating and you keep your mouth shut, that doesn't mean you don't have a message. But first, when do we even have to speak up? You speak up when you have a message. You speak up when there is a danger ahead. When there's a danger ahead, you speak up when a generational blessing is about to be lost. You speak up when there is a birthing. Something is about to be birthed, to be given birth to. You don't go to the labor room and say the place quiet. Even if the mom is on epidural and she's keeping quiet, the baby will definitely cry. That is the joy of the labor room. Silence doesn't mean there is nothing to be said. Silence means you understand the message, you understand the timing, you understand how the message should be delivered, and you understand where to deliver the message. Silence means you understand the message, you understand how the message should be delivered, you understand when the message should be delivered, and you understand where to deliver the message. Cush had a message. She understood that the message should be delivered at that time, when the first person had already gone ahead. So Ahima has already prepared the ground for that news. So Cush came in at the right time. Sometimes being the first person to deliver a message could be a wrong timing. There's something in economics we call the first cause trouble. Sometimes being the first person to voice something out. Yeah, sometimes we have to be the first person to say the difficult thing. But when somebody already prepared the ground for your message, that makes the timing right. And that was what worked for Cush. Ahima has already prepared the ground. So the king was eager to hear the next thing. And because Ahima already understand the timing of the message, Ahima was able to figure out how the message will be packaged. When you're silent, you are being creative. When you're silent, you pay attention to the emotion of the people who are listening to you. When you're silent, you time your message in such a way that when it is sent out, it is received with the way you intended it to be. When you are silent, you learn. When you are silent, you don't have a regret. Because regret only comes in the middle of noise. No one can question silence. People can question what you said, but nobody can question your silence. You can regret the words that you have spoken, but you will not regret the silence that you sent out. Because when you are silent, you are being creative. When you are silent, you are listening. When you're silent, you gain understanding. When you're silent, you empower your voice. Your voice is a music. You want to play it out. You want to play it at the right time. You want to play it using the right tool. You want to play it using the right techniques. Cush sent a bad news using a good tone. He said, may your enemies be like the man. He didn't even mention the name Absalom. Because the timing was right, David was able to code what Cush just decoded. As a man, as a woman, when it comes to communication, silence is very, very essential. The power of your silence makes people listen to you. The power of your silence makes you creative. The power of your silence makes you have a good package, even in the way you speak. When God is silent, everybody pays attention. When God was silent, everybody pays attention. As God's children, silence is very, very important. Silence when you are happy. Silence when you're sad. Silence when there is a bounty. Silence when things are not sufficient. Silence in the middle of scarcity. Silence in the middle of abundance. Silence when you have a message. Silence when you don't have a message. Silence is power. Your voice is music. Play it. Thank you for joining me on the Our platform. This is the